I am really shocked by the way some unpatriotic Nigerians have gone on social media, misrepresenting Ishospeed's visit to Nigeria and using it to project a negative image of their very own country, while attempting to spoil what was a good narrative of a very successful visit. First of all, Ishospeed never said or implied that Nigeria is smelly. The young man perhaps achieved his most successful stream during his African tour in Nigeria, reaching a milestone of 50 million YouTube subscribers whilst in our dearly beloved country. He is the first black streamer to achieve that milestone, and it occurred in Nigeria, boosted by Nigerian subscribers appreciative of his visit. What these few unpatriotic Nigerians, who have a grudge against their own country, fed by a separatist agenda, have done is take a screenshot of a particular stream where Mr. Darren Jason Watkins Jr. made a face for a few seconds, which he often does all over the world, upon citing something interesting and peculiar. Using that snapshot, they painted a false narrative claiming that Lagos is smelly and that Darren Jason Watkins Jr., aka Ishospeed, did not enjoy his time there and found nothing interesting or cultural to do. Sadly, their claims have gone wildly viral. In fact, as evidenced by his streams and media coverage, Ishospeed had perhaps the most eventful moments of his Speed Does Africa tour in Nigeria, which is why he chose to spend his 21st birthday in our country. He drew his biggest crowds here and was so impressed by that he testified about it. He had gastronomical and cultural experiences, including visiting Freedom Park and eating the world-famous Nigerian jollof rice, which he raved about. Thereafter, he had a belated Dirty December moment by interacting with street dancers in a carnival-like manner, and had intermittent encounters and conversations with street performers, including a man whose physical strength he celebrated after attempting and failing to match his iron-bending skills. Ishospeed also enjoyed Nigerian couture when he got to wear the special Nigerian hat, known as a fila, made in Nigeria entirely from made-in-Nigeria fabric. Something that I have been promoting worldwide. His decision to blend in culturally with Nigerians through fashion made him so excited that he asked street vendors and onlookers whether he looked Nigerian. And on his 21st birthday, Ishospeed was surrounded by schoolchildren in their school uniforms, singing the famous Happy Birthday song to him, almost bringing him to tears. At Freedom Park, Ishospeed interacted with various Lagos street performers, who taught the quick learner several dance steps particularly suited to the Nigerian music genre of Afrobeats that has taken the world by storm. Ishospeed then visited the Nike Art Gallery in Lekki, where the management feted him and gifted him a traditional Lukumi Yoruba outfit, which left him in awe. Mr. Watkins next met Afrobeat singer Zlatan Ibile, who surprised him with a birthday cake, prompting Ishospeed to shockingly reveal that that was the first birthday cake he had ever received. Hard to believe, his time in Nigeria has become one of the most discussed pop culture moments of the year so far, and he was so pleased with Nigeria that one of the first things Abubakar Malami, a former Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation who was in office from November 2015 till May 2023 when the then President Muhammadu Buhari completed his 8 years tenure in office, under which courts of competent jurisdiction granted several detained Nigerians bail, but the Buhari government refused to release them and even rearrested some of them after they had perfected their bail conditions. The then Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, who was saddled with the responsibility of protecting citizens' rights, came out openly and apparently justified the violations of court orders by the then Buhari-led government, and during the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, Abubakar Malami frequently defended the actions of the government's refusal to obey court's orders of bail granted to high-profile individuals by asserting that national security and public interest superseded individual rights. Some of the high-profile individuals included Colonel Sambo Dasuki, the former National Security Advisor in the era of President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, who was held for 4 years from December 2015 to December 2019, despite being granted bail by at least 4 different Nigerian high courts and the ECOWAS court. He was repeatedly rearrested by the Department of State Services, DSS, immediately after fulfilling bail conditions, Sheikh Ibrahim el-Zakaki and his wife Zina, detained from December 2015 until they were released in July 2021, were refused bail after federal court declared the detention illegal in 2016 and ordered their release by January 2017, but the government under which Abu Bakr Malami was a justice minister did not comply, until they were eventually acquitted of all charges by a Kaduna State High Court in 2021. Also, Omiyele Sowore, an activist and a journalist who is the founder of Sahara Reporters News Media, remained in DSS custody for several months in 2019 despite fulfilling bail conditions set by Justice Ijeoma Ojukwu. He was rearrested within the courtroom just 24 hours after a temporary release. Nnamdi Kanu, the convicted and jailed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB leader, was refused bail during his initial trial in 2015. President Buhari then publicly stated during a media chat that Kanu, among others, would not be allowed to go on bail due to the nature of their alleged crimes, despite court rulings. In addition, was Navy Captain Dada Labinjo, who was detained by the Nigeria military from September 2018 until at least late 2019. Despite a federal high court order for his release, and during these periods, Abu Bakr Malami provided several justifications for these detentions. Most notably during his 2019 ministerial screening, Malami stated that the office of the AGF is meant to protect the public interest, and, where the individual interest conflicts with the public interest, the interest of 180 million Nigerians must naturally prevail. He cited the Supreme Court case of Asari Dokubo versus Federal Republic of Nigeria, arguing, it established that national security could supersede personal liberty in specific contexts, and when Dasuki and Sowore were finally released in December 2019, Nigeria military authority has confirmed the death of 5 soldiers and 1 police officer in an ambush launched by terrorists on Monday at Gidan Wagni area of Zamfara state. The incident may be a reminder of incessant cases of high rates of Nigeria losing its soldiers and other security operatives in ambush, especially as observed as a worsening situation in the year 2025, with the ambush of army barracks and killing of the men of the Armed Forces of Nigeria, AFN, by terrorists in large number began as early as January 2025. It may be recalled that in January 2025, terrorists launched an attack on the 149 Battalion in Malam Fatori, Borno State, leading to the killing of over 20 military personnel, including a battalion commander and senior officers. Within the first quarter, a careful review of news reports showed that more than 100 Nigeria soldiers were reportedly killed in the first quarter of 2025 by terrorists, mostly in ambush. In June 2025, terrorists' attacks on 3 army bases in central and northwestern Nigeria resulted in the killing of at least 17 soldiers. And in September 2025, a major ambush on the Baga-Maiduguri road was reported, where at least 40 soldiers were killed and 65 went missing. While in October 2025, at least 4 soldiers were killed in a Boko Haram ambush in Borno State, while another encounter in Kumshe resulted in 1 soldier killed, and by November 2025, the Nigerian army confirmed the death of Brigadier General Musa Uba and 2 other soldiers following an ambush by ISWAP terrorists near Wajiroko town in Borno State, which some local media reported that several soldiers were killed during the ambush. Even some of the local media stated that those who escaped the ambush, like the Brigadier General, were traced and killed by the terrorists apparently after hours of no rescue or prompt reinforcement by the Nigeria military authority. According to Captain David Adewusi, the media information officer of Operation Fansanyama, the 5 soldiers and the police officer were killed while the troops were returning from a successful operation and responding to a distress call of terrorists' attack in a community in Zamfara state. In his words, Captain David Adewusi said, "Troops of Operation Fansanyama, OPFY, Joint Task Force Northwest, have demonstrated exceptional bravery, professionalism, and resilience following a terrorist ambush along the Bingi-Kekan-Waje-Gusau Road in Zamfara State on the 19th of January 2026. The ambush followed a series of successful offensive operations conducted from 17th to the 19th of January 2026, when troops of Sector 2 OPFY, in conjunction with the OPFY Mobile Strike Team and DIA Tactical Support Team, carried out coordinated raids, ambushes, and fighting patrols across Bernan Magaji and Anchor areas of Zamfara state. During these operations, 3 suspects, Isio Kwakwatawa, Ibrahim Dan Musulu, and Makau Lambagoma, were arrested, while 4 terrorists were neutralized and others fled into the forest. Items recovered included 1 PKT machine gun, 5 AK-47. Peter Obi, the former Anambra State Governor and last presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the Nigeria 2023 general elections, has insisted that the 3 brothers among the 12 persons that died as a result of fire that engulfed the 25-story building of Great Nigeria Insurance House Plaza at Balogun Market in Lagos Island on Christmas Eve, called for help for days with no emergency response from the government under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saying, the 3 siblings, Mr. Stephen Onyeka Omatu aged 40, Mr. Casimir Nabuka Omatu aged 39, and Mr. Collins Kenechukwu Omatu aged 37, for days, sent distressing pleas for help while trapped in the building, yet there were no emergency services to rescue them. Several days passed in the rubble before their bodies were finally recovered, several days of unanswered calls, of a system that failed them at the moment they needed it most. Peter Obi made this statement after attending the burial ceremony of the 3 siblings held at Uzokwa community in Ihiala local government area of Anambra State on Wednesday, after Lagos State Government through the Office of the Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Gbenga Omatoso, in a statement issued on January 1, 2026 stated that as soon as the fire alarm was received on the day, the government deployed teams of first responders to the scene, including the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, Lagos State Ambulance Services, security agencies, and other emergency and safety units, but this statement from the Lagos State Government appears not to be in line with an eyewitness account, a resident who spoke with News Central Television at the scene of the fire incident, that a phone call was made across to a fire service in Lagos State, but the fire service demanded 30 million naira service fee before the fire service would respond to the emergency issue. The resident added that if the fire service had responded on time, the entire building would have been saved, probably with no life lost, because the fire was only at a single floor when the fire service was called. According to Punch newspaper, the 3 siblings died after being trapped inside the burning high-rise building in Lagos, an incident that shocked residents and reignited concerns over fire safety and emergency response in the country. According to family sources, the intensity of the inferno made rescue efforts impossible, and only ashes were recovered for burial. The burial brought grief and sorrow to Ihiala community, with residents praying that their souls find rest and that their family finds strength to pass through this trying time. After the burial, emotions ran high as the young wives of the deceased, family members, friends, schoolmates, and sympathizers gathered to bid a painful farewell. Some attendees, dressed in black and carrying posters of the 3 siblings, wept openly, struggling to come to terms with the tragedy that sent shock waves across the community. Punch Online had reported on January 7th that the fire started on the 4th floor and spread to the 6th before engulfing the remaining floors and adjoining structures. A detached section of the plaza, estimated at about 7 floors high, collapsed during the inferno. Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetoken, for days now has refused to speak or deliberately kept mum after a well-known founder of a private organization, Harrison Gwamnashu, who have been assisting Nigeria's security operatives with credible and reliable intelligence information that have led to the killing and arrest of several kidnappers, in a video statement on Saturday revealed the complicit of the Nigeria police force in aiding and trying to cover up a reasonable suspect behind the kidnapping of a couple in the late days of November 2025 at Avili community in the Etsiko West local government area of Edo State. And the reasonable suspect happened to be the younger brother of the man who was kidnapped alongside his wife, which, the kidnappers only set free the wife after a sting operational ransom money of 20 million nairas was given to the kidnappers, with the reasonable suspect fully aware of all arrangements of the top-secret security plans of Harrison Guamnashu, but decided to make the sensitive security information public even when his elder brother is still held captive by the kidnappers. The reasonable suspect, in a TikTok video live streaming, admitted that he was actually among the people arrested by soldiers over an issue. The reasonable suspect refused to state. The reasonable suspect, among others, were handed over to the Nigeria police force for the continuation of investigation and possible prosecution, but, according to Harrison Guamnashu, immediately police noticed he was able to recognize the reasonable suspect as a family member who was aware of his security plans, and he was also the one that helped deliver the money to the kidnappers in the bush. An order within the police authority came, and the reasonable suspect was set free immediately, while others arrested alongside the reasonable suspect were remanded to prison. That aside, Harrison Guamnashu, in an exclusive interview with TVC television station made available to the public by the broadcast media on Sunday night, indicated that the Nigeria police force had all the opportunities and chances to rescue the remaining kidnapped victims, but the police deliberately refused to go into the bush, with the police saying that the kind of intelligence information he had provided is an archaic style of intelligence gathering. This, according to Harrison Guamnashu, forced him to show the police video evidences of how his style of intelligence has aided successful offensive operation against kidnappers, but all his explanations went on deaf ears. Even when for days, the tracking devices he added to the special money he mixed with the original money given to the kidnappers as ransom was still showing the exact location of the kidnappers and other useful information that could have enabled the police mobilize and rescue the remaining kidnapped victims. According to the reasonable suspect, Harrison Guamnashu was actually contacted to help capture the kidnappers. This statement probably indicated that he ought not to be surprised that some original money was removed from the bag by Harrison Guamnashu, except he can explain better how he expected Harrison Guamnashu to capture the kidnappers without acting intelligently. Harrison Guamnashu had said that the reasonable suspect came with the money with a lot of young people who were with him in the hotel. According to Harrison Guamnashu, he visited the hotel the reasonable suspect was. Harrison Guamnashu, the founder of a registered private organization assisting the Nigeria security operatives with credible and reliable intelligence information that have led to the killing and arrest of several kidnappers in the West Africa country, especially in the South-South geopolitical zone of Edo and Delta states, in a video statement issued via his verified social media account a few hours ago, has said that the family member and a brother of the kidnapped couple who worked with him and his team to deliver the prepared sting operational 20 million nairas ransom to the kidnappers has been arrested alongside his gang members with guns. But, according to Harrison Guamnashu, immediately the Nigeria police force noticed that he could vividly recognize the suspect as a brother to the kidnapped couple. The Nigeria police force quickly released the suspect and charged other members of his gang arrested in Auchi to court, even when the kidnapping involving the suspect's brother and wife is generating more reactions after the wife was set free by the kidnappers, while the husband, who is the suspect's brother, is still held in captivity till date by the kidnappers, since both were kidnapped in their home at Avili village in the Etsiko West local government area of Edo State in late days of November 2025. According to Harrison Guamnashu, before the ransom money was delivered to the kidnappers inside the bush, the kidnappers made a phone call to the arrested and quickly set free suspect to give him the exact location to drop the money. He was surprised to hear one of the kidnapped victims, the husband still with the kidnappers, begging his brother, who is currently seen as the suspect behind the kidnapping, to forgive him if he has done anything wrong to him. The pleading shocked him, but Harrison said he decided to act as if he never heard anything. Harrison Guamnashu added that the suspect, he was the family member that raised the alarm that the ransom money wasn't complete, that was the reason the kidnappers only released the wife and refused to set free the husband. Stating clearly that everyone who participated in taking the money to the kidnappers affirmed that the kidnappers never counted the money. That even if the kidnappers had counted the money, He prepared the money specially by only scattering the tracking devices on the dummy Naira notes that looked like original Naira notes in a manner that made the whole money complete. The family member who delivered the ransom to the kidnappers and some of his gangs were arrested with guns in Auchi by soldiers. The soldiers handed them over to Auchi Area Command. Auchi Area Command transferred them to Anti-Cultism Unit SCID Benin, and along the side, an order came that the boy should be released. Other people with him were charged to court and sent to prison. Same boy was with us in Auchi and knows our plans. I told the police my story. My statement is with the police. They did nothing. Continuing, Harrison Gwamnashu stated verbatim thus: "Good afternoon, my name is Harrison Gwamnashu. While I was in custody in State Sid, Benin, at the CP's office, CP was in that meeting. The Chief of Staff to the Governor was in that meeting, the CSO to the Governor, Chief Security Officer to the Governor was in that meeting, the Commissioner for Security and Public Safety was in that meeting, the Head of Investigative Team was in that meeting, the family members were in that meeting, the wife of the man kidnapped was in that meeting, his brother was in." One of the most talked about Islamic preachers in Nigeria who have had photographs with people suspected to be terrorists terrorizing villages and communities in the northern part of Nigeria when he visited the suspected terrorists in their camps inside forests on the ground of having peace talk with the armed groups. Sheikh Ahmed Abubakar Mahmoud Gumi has described as a terrorist act the United States, U.S. military action ordered by President Donald Trump that attacked and killed yet to be ascertained total numbers of ISIS-affiliated Lakurawa terrorists in Sokoto State on Christmas Day. The Islamic cleric called on the people in the villages affected by the U.S. missile strikes on Thursday night to post on social media platforms evidences of damages caused by the U.S. military action. According to Gumi, it is in line with the teachings of Islam for terrorists to be killed, but the killing must be done by people with a clean and holy hands, and not by another terrorist whose hands are stained with the blood of hundreds of thousands of innocent children, women, and men. Just recently, stressing that the U.S. involvement in the fight against terrorism in Nigeria will make the country becomes an enemy of its neighbors, a theater of war, because the involvement will attract the real anti-U.S. forces into the West Africa country, and in a manner that looked like mockery. Sheikh Gumi said, "Dropping a few bombs here and there cannot tackle the menace of terror. They need serious military on the ground, which, if we are serious, we have enough men to do that." In contrary to Gumi's assertions, the Nigeria government, through the office of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tugga, said it was President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Thursday that gave the U.S. the approval to carry out the strikes against the terrorists. But the government statement apparently did not go down well with Omoyele Sowore, a human rights activist and the founder of Sahara Reporters News Media, who insisted that it is evident that the strikes were carried out without the genuine authority or informed consent of the weaklings masquerading as government under Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and in a swift reaction to Omoyele Sowore, one of the recently nominated and confirmed ambassador-designate, Reno Omokri, said, "I am afraid I will have to disagree with Mr. Omoyele Sowore, and others like him, who are misinforming the Nigerian public that the recent actions against terrorists are proof that Nigeria lacks sovereignty. Such views are indicative of a lack of awareness of international relations. It is also wrong for Mr. Sowore to call our government and military weak." Sheikh Ahmed Abubakar Mahmoud Gumi, in a statement titled, "The Symbolism of the U.S. Strike," he shared on his verified Facebook account when he reshared the news link of a post published by CNN on Friday, said, "Annihilating terrorists is an Islamic obligation. The Prophet, peace be upon him, wished he annihilated them. He said, 'Should I live till they appear, I would kill them as the killing of the nation of Ad.' Al-Bukhari and Muslim." This said, it should only be carried out by clean, holy hands, not by another terrorist whose hands are stained with the blood of hundreds of thousands of innocent children, women, and men just recently. This is the mistake Nigeria has made. Terrorists don't fight terrorists While many Nigerians were asleep after the 2025 Christmas celebration, the United States, U.S. warship moved close and took position in the territorial Africa waters, then launched missiles at the dead of the night on Thursday into areas predominantly dominated by the Lakurawa terrorists in the Nigeria northwestern state of Sokoto, with President Donald Trump saying many of the terrorists were killed, but the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS in the West Africa province, is yet to issue a statement over the airstrikes on the Lakurawa camps in Sokoto, the armed group that is affiliated with the Islamic State Sahel province operating in Mali, Niger, and the Nigeria Kebbi and Sokoto states, whose activities are mostly observed in 5 local government areas of Tangasa, Gudu, Alela, Binji, and Salame in Sokoto state. Some residents at Jabo village in the Tambul local government area of Sokoto state posted videos online to indicate that some components used in making the missiles fell on a farmland in the Jabo village. The videos showed a lot of the villagers, mostly younger ones, holding phones with touchlight on, recording the scene of the burning parts of one of the missiles in the farmland, while some took a closer camera angle shot of some of the components that have manufacturing inscriptions, dates and brand labels. The U.S. Africa Command, in a statement a few hours ago, said, at the direction of the President of the United States and the Secretary of War, and in coordination with Nigerian authorities, U.S. Africa Command conducted strikes against ISIS terrorists in Nigeria on December 25, 2025, in Sokoto state. President Donald Trump, while announcing the military action through his Truth social media platform on Thursday night, said, "Tonight, at my direction as Commander-in-Chief, the United States launched a powerful and deadly strike against ISIS terrorist scum in northwest Nigeria, who have been targeting and viciously killing, primarily, innocent Christians, at levels not seen for many years, and even centuries. I have previously warned these terrorists that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, there would be hell to pay, and tonight, there was." The Department of War executed numerous perfect strikes, as only the United States is capable of doing. Under my leadership, our country will not allow radical Islamic terrorism to prosper. May God bless our military, and Merry Christmas to all, including the dead terrorists, of which there will be many more if their slaughter of Christians continues. Peter Hegseth, the U.S. Secretary of War, reiterated the U.S. President's announcement in a tweet, saying, "The President was clear last month. The killing of innocent Christians in Nigeria and elsewhere must end. The Department of War is always ready, so ISIS found out tonight, on Christmas. More to come. Grateful for Nigerian government support and cooperation. Merry Christmas." On November 25, 2025, Peter Hegseth had said, "Yes, sir. The killing of innocent Christians in Nigeria, and anywhere, must end immediately. The Department of War is preparing for action. Either the Nigerian government protects Christians, in an effort to challenge and prove wrong the statement of Harrison Gwamnashu, a well-known civilian volunteer assisting Nigeria security operatives with intelligence information that has led to the arrest and killing of suspected kidnappers in gun battle, that Harrison Gwamnashu, was never arrested or charged to court by the Nigeria police force over the 5.4 million nairas he allegedly removed from the 20 million nairas ransom he was contracted to hand over to the kidnappers for the release and rescue of the married couple kidnapped in Avili community in the Etsiko West local government area of Edo State in late November 2025. A leading Nigeria social media influencer and human rights activist, Martins Vincent Otts aka Veridakman, on Tuesday night took to his social media pages and presented an apparent questionable court document, probably with malicious intent to manipulate and mislead unsuspecting members of the public in order to malign the character of Harrison Gwamnashu. In the court document presented by Veridakman, the alleged charge serial numbers were covered with a colored ink. No date of court sitting was written on the court document. The document indicated that the alleged 3-count charges were drafted and signed on the 18th of December 2025, a day before Harrison Gwamnashu was asked to go home from the police custody on December 19, 2025, while awaiting the advice of the Department of Public Prosecutor, DPP, on the matter. and the apparent fraudulent court document did not show the officer or the person responsible for the court count charges, and the document apparently in a manipulative manner did not show the full signature and any name of the officer who authored the alleged court charges. The document claimed in the video that the prosecutor wanted Harrison Gwamnashu jailed for 6 months, but the judge he identified as Justice Etinoza Adekombi allegedly on her personal consideration, because of the Christmas and New Year season and public intervention, decided to grant Harrison Gwamnashu bail. Harrison Gwamnashu says he was never arrested by the police or charged to court as speculated in the public spaces over the 5.4 million nairas he allegedly removed out of the 20 million nairas ransom he was given to hand over to kidnappers, and as well apparently used the money as a bait to stage sting operation for the release and rescue of the husband and wife simply identified as Mr. and Mrs. Ibrahim, kidnapped in Avili community in the Etsiko West local government area of Edo State, which generated public reactions after the kidnappers set free the wife and kept the husband in captivity on the ground that the money given to them was not complete, and some persons who have access to the apparent sensitive security information went public to create an impression as if Harrison Gwamnashu stole part of the ransom money, even when Harrison Gwamnashu explained to them that it is part of his operational procedures to remove some cash from the ransom money. His explanation apparently went on deaf ears, and people who may be best described as mischief makers took advantage of the issue to call Harrison Gwamnashu names and reopen his alleged past deeds in a prejudiced manner to cast aspersions on him, even when they knew that Harrison Gwamnashu has a long history with video evidences of assisting security operatives to rescue kidnapped victims. Harrison Gwamnashu says he was never arrested by the police or charged to court as speculated in the public spaces over the 5.4 million nairas he allegedly removed out of the 20 million nairas ransom he was given to hand over to kidnappers, and as well apparently used the money as a bait to stage sting operation for the release and rescue of the husband and wife simply identified as Mr. and Mrs. Ibrahim, kidnapped in Avili community in the Etsiko West local government area of Edo State, which generated public reactions after the kidnappers set free the wife and kept the husband in captivity on the ground that the money given to them was not complete, and some persons who have access to the apparent sensitive security information went public to create an impression as if Harrison Gwamnashu stole part of the ransom money, even when Harrison Gwamnashu explained to them that it is part of his operational procedures to remove some cash from the ransom money. His explanation apparently went on deaf ears, and people who may be best described as mischief makers took advantage of the issue to call Harrison Gwamnashu names and reopen his alleged past deeds in a prejudiced manner to cast aspersions on him, even when they knew that Harrison Gwamnashu has a long history with video evidences of assisting security operatives to rescue kidnapped victims, and in some cases, the total money paid as ransom are recovered and returned to the victims' families, and the sting operation usually leads to the killing and arrest of the suspected kidnappers. This, according to Harrison Gwamnashu in a statement he issued through his verified Facebook account some hours ago. He was the one who personally submitted himself voluntarily to the Edo State Command of the Nigeria Police Force to enable the police investigate his action, that he never had the intention of stealing the money, and his action of removing some money from the ransom was part of his usual operational procedures, adding that the police never charged him to court, and while in self-detention with the police, he became the cell president and he facilitated the release of 4 persons who were probably arrested and detained by the police unjustly for a crime the beneficiaries may know nothing about, and a video posted online by Harrison Gwamnashu on Monday night showed he arrived home to the waiting hands of his elderly mother, who was seen in the video singing, dancing with other family members, friends and well-wishers, and screaming loud with joy, while using one of her hands to caress the chest of her son, Harrison Gwamnashu, during which she said a lot of prayers in her local dialect. In his words, Harrison Gwamnashu said, "I did not return alone. During my time in custody, I became the cell presido, OBJ, and later handed over that responsibility to a young man, Honor Abba, who had also been unjustly arrested and detained. While there, I quietly supported the release of 4 individuals who were being held without cause. And today, Honorable from Benue State has also regained his freedom. My sincere appreciation goes to my Edo human rights team, led by John Odion Kadiri, for their invaluable support in making this possible. Dear family, I am pleased to inform you all that I have been released from custody. Words cannot express how grateful I am for your support, especially considering that many of you had not yet heard my own side of what truly happened. For barely 1 month after terrorists invaded the Christian school on November 21, 2025 and kidnapped over 230 school children at the St. Mary Catholic Church School in Papri town in Niger State, the Nigeria government under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has announced the complete release of all the abducted church school children by the terrorists. According to the presidential spokesperson, Bayo Onanuga, the terrorists released the kids based on intelligence-driven operations, but some Nigerians who took to the comment sections of the presidential spokesperson on social media said the government should come out clean and tell the public the truth that it paid money as ransom to the terrorists to secure the freedom of the kids, stressing that terrorists don't release kidnapped victims for free. Bayo Onanuga, the presidential spokesperson, had said in a statement he issued and made available yesterday that the remaining 130 school children abducted by terrorists at St. Mary's Catholic School in Papri, Niger State, on November 21st, have now been released. They are expected to arrive in Minna on Monday and rejoin their parents for the Christmas celebration. 100 were released earlier by the terrorists, taking the total of freed students to 230. The freedom of the school children followed a military intelligence-driven operation. Some social media users who are apparently Nigerians took to the comment sections of the presidential spokesperson post both on Facebook and X social media platforms and expressed themselves over the new developments, some of which are presented verbatim below. Rilwan Ibrahim said, "Released not rescued. Kidnappers don't release captives for free. In all thank God for their lives." Femi Adeboye said, "So what happened to their abductors? Were they engaged in the way they understand, or they were released after monetary negotiation? We thank God for the release of these children. At the same time, what happened to the abductors?" Akingbade Aganbiade said, "Military intelligence-driven operation. As how many bandits did they arrest?" Banki Alesh said, "A wheeler-dealer government of no direction will never say the truth. Only God knows how much ransom was paid from the hard-earned resources or borrowed funds of this country. No amount of propaganda or damage control. Nigerians becomes wiser every day with all your antics and they're ready for you come 2027. Ruska Oko said, "Sir, with all due respect, do the terrorists release them unconditionally or your government paid ransom?" Joke Megamixer stated, "The presidency celebrates a military intelligence-driven operation for the Papri release, yet says nothing about the fate of the abductors. In a functioning security system, the return of victims is only half the job. Without arrests or neutralized threats, this is not a rescue. It is a handover that comes at a cost that wasn't mentioned." The official account of the Papri release reads like a travel itinerary, not a security report. If this was indeed an intelligence-led operation, where are the suspects? Silence on the abductors' fate suggests a non-combative arrangement that leaves the kidnap industry intact. Increasing rates of mass shooting leading to mass murder in South Africa recorded another new figure on Sunday early morning in the Bekkersdal town near the southwestern part of Johannesburg in the Gauteng province when about 12 masked unknown gunmen invaded a public drinking, accommodation and relaxation spot known as Tavern, shooting into the pub and shot people as they sight them on the street while fleeing, leading to the killing of 9 persons as confirmed by the local authority, with additional 10 persons sustaining injuries. This occurred less than 3 weeks when gunmen stormed an illegal drinking establishment also known as Shebeen at a hostel in Salisbury, west of Pretoria, wherein 12 people were killed, including a 3-year-old child, a 12-year-old boy, and a 16-year-old girl, and in 2024 alone, 26,232 murder cases representing more than 70 people killed per day in South Africa was reported by the South African Police Service, SAPS, and a non-governmental organization, the Democratic Alliance, DC had stated in its report earlier in the year that between January and March 2025, 5,727 people were murdered, representing an average of 62 people killed per day in 2025 first quarter, and 6,985 attempted murders were recorded, 75 per day. 43,776 assaults with intent to cause grievous bodily harm were reported, representing 475 per day. 10,688 people were raped, 116 per day. 4,571 kidnappings occurred, 49 per day. 11,111 common robberies and 35,374 commercial crimes were reported, representing 504 per day. And as at the time of filing in this report on Monday morning, the South Africa President, Cyril Ramaphosa, is yet to issue statement or announce policy action over the Sunday recent mass murder in the country, just as residents who spoke with local media blamed the attack on illegal miners known by the group name Zama Zamas, and the residents believed the police are in cahoots with the different gangsters terrorizing communities in South Africa. Local residents who spoke with local news media said that the mass murder in Bekkersdal occurred around 1 a.m. early morning night on Sunday, December 21st, with about 12 gunmen in a white van and silver sedan opened fire at the Quinoxalo Tavern in Bekkersdal, southwest of Johannesburg. A resident who spoke with NewsReel Africa television said, "It is bad, my sister. The thing is, this has become a norm in this township. Young kids, tender kids as young as 2, 3 years old, when a gunshot sounds, they don't flinch. They would ask you, which direction does it come from? They're used to gunshots. Little kids. Now you can imagine how much about old people. What happened yesterday is a reflection of, I don't know how to put it, maybe, let me put it straight, a reflection of neglect by the police. Criminals, they do as they please here. These guns, they sound each
Osazuwa Redio, bringing you the news in a more digital way.